Guys, welcome back to the show. This is the first episode where there's no guest. It's just me talking about my story. A lot of you guys don't know where I come from, what my journey was to get to the point that I'm at right now. The failures, setbacks, obstacles, roadblocks, and successes that I've endured along the way are something that I really want to bring to light here today. So before we jump into all that, I want to take this time to really appreciate the people who've supported me the entire way. And shout out to We Go Home. Guys, We Go Home is the only brand that I support, represent, and I actually utilize every day in my life. From the supplements to the apparel and the mantra, right? We Go Home is something that we all need to have on the forefront of our mindsets, because this job, this profession, it's dangerous, and it's our duty to do everything in our power to make sure that not only we personally go home, but that everybody that we're around also makes it home safe. And the only way to be safe is to be aggressive and be the type of person that gets after it 24/7. So we're gonna start from the beginning. What this journey has taught me and what I've really battled and fought with the entire way. So picture this, 80 pounds overweight. So I was about 290. I think I even got to 300 at one point. Coming out of high school, this young kid, immature, full of piss and vinegar, thinking he has the world figured out. And I go to fire school. I go to the Florida State Fire College. I had the pleasure of attending the best minimum standards program, I believe, in the world. And I failed. Came to an evolution where I went into a maze that was a simple maze that was dark, was tight, and I was fat, overweight, not confident, and it defeated me, right? So at that moment, I was released from the program for not meeting the terminal objective of completing the maze, blacked out on air. So from Ocala to where I live is currently 3.5, 4-hour drive, and that entire drive, my dreams, hopes were completely shattered. And all I've ever wanted to do since I was a little kid is be a fireman, right? I've always seen fire trucks and gotten so excited and knew one day I'd be on one of those trucks helping whoever needed help that day. So at this point, I'm not gonna do that, right? Because I failed out of fire school and you need to have your certification to be a firefighter in the state of Florida. So I get home and it turns into a real depressed season. Right at 18, coming out of high school. It was not a good time. I battled with, obviously, depression. I was overweight. I was not motivated, driven. I wasn't on a plan, and I completely lost a purpose of what I was gonna do with the rest of my life. I didn't focus on school, so my grades were really bad. I couldn't go to college, and the only options I was given by my dad, shout out to the greatest person I've ever met, and my true mentor, he said, you're gonna go to the military, you're gonna get a job, or you're gonna go back to fire school. And all three of those were going to be executed within the next 24 hours. So we were gonna have to come up to a decision. And the decision was to just get a job, right? I got hired at a local ambulance company and I started doing interfacility transports. That in itself, guys, completely ruined my morale. I mean, to the point where I was just so disgusted with myself. I was in a position where I just did not want to do what I was doing. And it came to a turning point. And I believe everybody in their life comes to this moment, comes to this decision, right? The fork in the road. It was like 2 a.m, I couldn't sleep. I went to use the bathroom, and I don't wear a shirt when I go to sleep. And I looked at myself in the mirror and was completely, utterly disgusted with who I was physically, and the insecurity that I possessed was not something I ever wanted. So at that moment, I made a decision. And this is the fork in the road that everybody comes to. And the people who don't make the right decision, this decision is presented to you over and over and over again. You just continue to dismiss what your true calling is because it's going to take work and it's going to be very difficult. But to me, in that moment, what was going to be difficult was settling, was being average forever and being somebody that I was never proud of. So from there on out, the next 6 months, with the help of a lot of people, I got in the best shape of my life. I got comfortable in gear. I got comfortable in the heat. I got comfortable with tight spaces. And I went back to the Florida State Fire College. I met some of the best people in the world. They're all my best friends now. Unfortunately, one of my bestest friends took his life. And later on down the road in this podcast, we'll talk about that. But I graduated, right? Graduated Florida State Fire College for the second time. I got to shake all the instructors' hands that I initially saw, and they saw me obviously not meet the standard. So it was something that was so fulfilling. And that moment when I graduated to this day is one of the best moments of my life. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call to get hired with my first fire department. So at 19, I'm hired as a full-time firefighter EMT, and I move away from home. The next 5 years was so fundamentally crucial for my development, mentally, physically, emotionally. I was on my own, right? I was on my own. I had to make my own decisions. I had responsibilities that I had to take care of, and I had to figure out who I was going to be without any support directly behind me, right? I've always had support from afar, and that's made me who I am today. I worked with the best humans on planet Earth at that department. People who I was not friends with, people who were not good at their job, people who were amazing at their job, all taught me the most important lessons that I needed to really catapult my career. And I was fortunate enough to be mentored by many of these people. And I was always super driven, and I guess that granted me the opportunity to be somebody worthy of an investment, right? So shout out to a lot of people. The first person I want to make a shout out to is Tony Gillen. Tony Gillen was on the other shift at the same firehouse that I was first assigned to. He poured into me and believed in me when nobody did. The next person is Scott Chapman. The following person is Chris Cole. Then we got Daniel Jodwin. We've got Todd Leeds. We've got Tim Moody, Scotty Ramage, Pablo Jenner, Chief Graff, Chief Blackburn. All of these men made me who I am today, and not by any means of what they said, rather how they handled themselves, how they operated, from a tactics standpoint to an operational standpoint to just being good humans, right? And showing me the way of life and the way of being a fireman. So anybody that's on the journey, on the process, and you are a little lost, guys, start watching the people that you want to be like, that you admire, and talk to them. Like, pick their brain. They're the ones that have made the mistakes. They got their stuff figured out now because they've overcome obstacles in the past. Nobody has it figured out the entire time. The most impressive humans on earth have failed, hit rock bottom. I mean, they've endured life. So we have to, squeeze everything out of them to learn from their mistakes so that we can be the best that we can be. So when I was up there, I had my battle of, making mistakes, finding my tribe, and obviously chewing off more than I could ever chew, right? So, within a year of being hired, I went to medic school, and during medic school, we had some high-speed people in my class, two of which were young, driven, and Florida smoke divers. They had just graduated. So, we weren't friends before the class, but as the class went on, we became, pretty close. And throughout the summer, there was so much jab and trash talk that me and two other buddies said, you know what? We're gonna attempt Florida smoke divers during medic school. Like, we'll crush it. We could show everybody. And shout out to Dustin Lindsay, he was an instructor. He goes, I'll never forget, I kind of heard him in the background one day during a clinical or a lab. He was like, these kids have no idea what they're getting into. Like, they don't stand a chance. And that was so much fuel. He was 100% correct. He nailed it on the head. We had no idea. So we made it a point throughout medic school to train, make fitness our priority so we didn't gain weight, lose our physical endurance for the job, and really focus on our studies and work. But when the summertime came, it was about time to kick up training for smoke divers. I mean, we literally had zero life. It was school, clinical, work, training, and repeat that. During lunch at school, we were training. During our clinicals, when we had off time, we were training. On shift, we were training. Before shift, we were training. After school, we were training. And then we had to do, we had to put in the clinical hours. We had to study. All of this stuff happened. And long story short, we get through medic school, which was extremely difficult. And we show up to Florida Smoke Divers, December 2nd, 2015. I'll never forget that moment of towing the line at the fire college and being surrounded by giants, right? A couple of giants that I was surrounded by were Matt McGee, Russ Ward, Mikey Covell, Basil Ibrahim. Like, all of these guys that are pioneers in the fire service have been people that I admire. On top of the instructor cadre of instructors that, the list goes on, have made an impact on my career and so many more. At that moment, I knew I was not prepared mentally for this task. So within 10 minutes, I was obviously granted the opportunity of going home because I failed the sit-ups by one sit-up. So me and the two people that I went with had all gotten the opportunity of being asked to go home because we did not meet the standard of that program. And that lesson in itself taught me that you can only do so much. The biggest accomplishments in life take the most commitment. The hardest accomplishments in life take the most time and dedication. You can't think that you're gonna do everything, right? So fast forwarding, we keep training and life goes on, and kind of pivoted my focus to getting all of my USAR classes, really with the goal of getting on, the task force team, getting on the special ops team, and still finding the best crew to work with, where eventually I got put in a position of working with the best officer leader that I could have ever imagined, and that's Chief Tim Moody. That man sat me down the first day and said, "There's only one thing I ask of you, is that you meet the standard and that you always strive to be a little bit better every day." He goes, "I will not tolerate negativity. I will not tolerate laziness. Those are the two things that I have zero tolerance for. Outside of that, I will let you do your job at a very high level unless you're not meeting that standard." And from a leadership perspective, he really opened up the lane for highly driven individuals to thrive, excel. He was not insecure. He was not the type of person that was, controlling everything and micromanaging people. He made his impact and influence by supporting his men and making us the best that we could possibly be, by example and also by guidance, right? With that was the best crew I've ever worked with in the fire service. The guys that I worked with were outstanding, exceptional. And we, from the new guy to our division chief, were stacked. And the support, leadership that I experienced was unbelievable. So with that being said, guys, this entire time I'd been going against the grain of complacency, of not wanting to be average, of still developing into the person that I am today. This confidence that I have, this tenacious drive that I have, has been created. It was not given to me. I wasn't an all-star athlete. I was the water boy in high school. I talk about that all the time. I was a loser, right? So when I approach anything now, the accolades and achievements and failures that I've endured have proven to me that I have everything mentally, physically, emotionally that it takes to achieve whatever goal I set in front of or is presented to me. There's not one thing on this earth that I know, if I don't put my mind to it, that I can't achieve, right? And I've developed that through constant forging of my mindset, my fitness, my emotional state. And I'm far from perfect, guys. I'm really, like, I have flaws like anybody else. My number one mission is to show people through success and failure, the lessons learned are what truly matter. And that no matter what you personally achieve, it's all useless unless we help other people along the way. We have to bring the community, right? We have to bring that inspiration, that drive, those accolades to the masses so that we can eventually have an entire army behind us of people that, because of the one decision you made, the one achievement you got to celebrate, gave them a little bit of hope that he did it, so can I. She did it, so can I. And that's what it's all about. That's what it truly is all about. So for anybody that's kind of watching, like, it's gonna be tough, guys. No matter who you are, no matter where you work, no matter what you do, the journey is hard. And once you accept that, and once you start looking for opportunities versus looking for the easy path, your entire life will change, because opportunities are always going to be presented to you, especially when things don't go your way. Jocko Willink says it all the time. Good or bad, it's good. There's good in everything if you have that perspective, if you have the foresight to look for the lessons, to look for the opportunity. And for anybody out there that isn't who they want to be, hasn't achieved the goals that they've set out, keep showing up again and again and again. Like, that's your duty. That's the only way you're going to achieve it, right? Everybody knows what happens when you quit. Nothing. You quit, you walk away, you will never achieve it. But that, just one little quote that I live by, not really a quote, but it's a question. What if? Like, what if I do the work and make it? What if I go from being overweight, failing out of fire school, to one day being a smoke diver? What if I could barely run a mile when I started this career and eventually run 100 miles? Like, what if I go to the highest altitude in North America and run 100 miles with mountains? Like, that saying has gotten me through so much. And I'm very, very aware that I'm not special at all. I wasn't gifted with this, athletic ability and this persona that is, just so charming and perfect. I have a lot of work to do, guys. And that's my mission in life, is to become the best that I could be, help others along the way, provide that hope, provide that support, and be what the world needs. And that's just a better person that's here to help. Anybody out there that partakes in negativity, in bringing people down, in just enviness and just negativity, back to that, it's a toxic place to be in, right? And I really recommend that if you are in that type of group, community, or environment, to remove yourself, because it will affect everything. It'll bleed into everything in your life, all right? It'll bleed into your mindset, your fitness, your spirituality, your relationships, your leadership, how you feel about yourself, what you achieve. You'll never meet somebody that hates you who's doing better than you. They will always, always help those that are on the way up the food chain, right? The only people that bring people down, that are negative, are people that are below the people that are actually in the arena. And that's what I'm going to kind of finish this podcast out with. We have to strive to always be the man or woman in the arena. What is the man or woman in the arena? That's a person that is not doing what they do for the outcome, for the praise, rather to see who they are, to be tested, to be challenged, to learn what their deficiencies are, to learn what their limits are. That's the purpose of life, right? Imagine we go 70, 80 years. You have to actually sit there and ask yourself, did I do everything that I wanted to when I was on Earth? Was I the best firefighter? the best human, the best person, the best leader, the best dad, the best mom, the best father, son, brother, sister that I could have been. Did I do the most? Right? That's something you got to ask yourself, because time won't stop. We will get old, and that day will come. And for anybody out there that answers those questions right now with anything negative, it's time to get to work. It's time to get to work. So guys, thank you so much for supporting the Prepare to Fight Fire podcast. If you are struggling in your mindset, fitness, and nutrition, shoot me a DM on Instagram, podcast, and we will talk about what program works best for you at this moment, and to see if you'd be a good fit for the Prepare to Fight Fire community to get you on the right path and help you achieve your goals. We're out. Thank you so much.